Alright, so as I was prepping for 2021, getting my profit and loss documents ready, just made me think about how my heart sinks every time I have to do that because the page is just blank, right? The next year, there's no gigs signed in there, there's no profit, there's no expenses, it's all just blank. And it just reminds me of how much of a grind the next year is going to be and just sort of how much effort it really takes to run your own business. Because there's no guaranteed paycheck coming every 2 weeks. I have to pay my own health insurance. I have to do so many different roles, and it takes a lot of work. Seeing that blank document just really reinforces that. So I do have some gigs that I can rely on to do mostly every year. I'd say about 50% of my income comes from past clients. So there's definitely still work that I can rely on, but it's not this guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks. I will be making some videos soon about finding gigs, finding work, but for now let's talk about something just a little bit more boring, and that's just running your own business. The day-to-day, the necessary things that have to keep you on track, keep you scheduling everything right, things I use to pay my taxes. There's just so much that goes into this, more than just taking photos. So I get messages from time to time from people just asking for advice or saying I have their dream job, and I do appreciate those messages. I love responding. If I haven't responded to you, I'm sorry. Just reach out again. I'll make sure to get to it. But sometimes I think people forget about that second word is job, right? It's a dream job. So it is a dream. It's awesome to be able to go photograph those games, but it's still a job. A lot of different roles and things I have to do to make sure that my business is still running, make sure I can still live a decent life. Some people think because I photograph professional sports, I probably have like a stable career and I've got it made. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Being a self-employed photographer, and really any self-employed job, is crazy because you just feel like you should always be working because you have to rely on yourself for your paycheck. Right? They say if you do what you love, you won't work a day in your life, but I think it's more like do what you love and you'll work every day of your life. Because when you're relying on yourself for your paycheck, every hour feels like an opportunity missed if you're not trying to make more money or trying to improve your business somehow. Don't get me wrong, I love my free time, and honestly I've probably had a little bit too much of it this past year, but it's just you have this constant nagging feeling that you're missing out, that you should be doing something more to further your business all the time, every hour of the day. And work doesn't just mean taking photographs, because like being a social media manager or being a marketer, website design, accountant, photographer, right? All these different aspects of the job that you don't really see on Instagram or YouTube. And it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and there's always something you can be doing. So whenever you have that free time, it still feels like there's this nagging feeling. It always feels like there's something more that you could be doing. So here's a couple things that help me with those other roles other than photographing, and things that make my life a little bit easier and give me a little bit more free time. One of the programs I use the most is Google Sheets, and that's mainly for my profit and loss statement, so I can just keep track of how much money I'm making, how much money I'm spending on my business, and then I keep track of every shoot that I do, if I've sent an invoice, if I've gotten paid, and how many miles I drove for the shoot. Basically everything to do with my business is going to be in this Google Sheet. So if we look at January, let's say I did a portrait shoot for $1 million, but I haven't been paid yet, but I sent an invoice on the 15th. So you can see up here, this is the total I'm expecting, and then the total I've actually been paid so far for my other gig. Let's say I did a USA Today sports gig, so I have a bunch of list of all clients I've had before down here, different types of shoots that I do, how much has been deposited, if I sent an invoice or not, when I did that, how many miles I traveled, it was a long way down there to shoot for Tom Brady over here, how many days I spent shooting, the date, basically just a lot of information. And then I calculate up everything on this side for people I've shot for before, which that's what comes back to this first page. So you can see I've only received $25. My estimate is $1,025,000, so my taxes estimate for January that I should put away at the end of the month is $200,000. And I typically try to overestimate the taxes. I'm not making $1 million, so this actually might be an underestimate. But you can see there, Q1, total estimate. And then let's say I bought a lens for, 12 grand. So again, over here I have a drop-down menu, travel, gear, parking, annual, yearly business, things like that. It's for my own business, not for a client, and the date I bought it. And then even more information over there on that side. So you can see if I have my actual total revenue, this is how much I've actually gotten paid, not what I'm expecting to get paid. And then my expenses, so my net profit would be pretty terrible right now, and I wouldn't owe any taxes because I'm not making any money. But if we went in and say I got paid, my total revenue is $1,025,000. So with my expenses taken out, I have my net profit, the taxes I owe on that for the year most likely, and my after-tax profit. And then down here is just estimated. So I just use these to help me just sort of figure out where I am in the year, how I'm doing. Now I also use Quickbooks then to take care of sort of my taxes and things like that, give me a better estimate of what I should pay for my quarterly tax estimates. So you also have to be able to send invoices. Typically I just use a very generic Apple Pages invoice template. Again, you can see very basic. I'll put more information on here depending on the shoot, but really most of the time the client just needs a receipt basically so that they can have it for their records. So it doesn't have to be anything too fancy. All right, also, so when I get paid, I have business bank accounts, business credit cards, just to try to keep separate business expenses from personal expenses, and then I'll just pay myself from my business account to my personal account. Just helps me keep track of getting paid from a business thing versus getting a birthday check or something like that. I use Squarespace to host my website. Easy designs, pretty quick to put something up there that looks pretty good. I use Pixie to deliver a lot of my images or to have people buy team photos. So you can see I do some high school team photos, and just some of the portrait sessions I do, I'll use this to send the photos over. Also, to keep track of my shoots and make sure I'm reminded of them, I just use a Google Calendar, set up alerts. Right, so I have some Bruins games coming up, and I also use a little notebook here to write down just sort of like ideas, things like that. Just sort of keep track of my days. I have a month layout on this as well. All right, so I hope that helped you just sort of see what it's like behind the scenes, day to day, not doing photo shoots. It's really fun, but those are some things that help me out. If you have any other questions, let me know, and see you next time.